Whoa, we are live. We had a technical difficulty there. I'm supposed to have a guest for today's show, and for some reason at the last minute, she was unable to come. So I have a series of questions that have come in from all of our listeners over the last couple of days, and I wanted to go through those and answer some of those questions from a cleaner's perspective, not from the Airbnb host's perspective. So we will have to have her on at another time. But I did want to honor this time because I know many of you have planned on watching this as a replay. Some of you have showed up live. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to spend time making sure that you guys had your questions answered and some of the things that we've seen changes since the pandemic, if you will. All right, so I'm going to throw these questions up here and then we will just answer these one by one and we'll do our best here without our guest. I know, I'm so sad. What key responsibilities do you delegate to your manager and housekeeper and why are they essential? All right, this is really, really an interesting question because when it comes time to hire a housekeeper or a manager for your property, a couple of things we have to be really keenly aware of is what are the parameters of your property? And so most Airbnb owners and vacation rental property owners are looking for 5-star ratings and reviews because that's how they keep their superhost status. And so when you're looking for a person to come in and play that role in your company, we have to be very keenly aware of what our requirements are and what the expectations are. How quick of a turnover are we going to be able to do if we have a last minute booking? And is there some, I don't know, a note inside your booking system that says you can't book within 12 hours or whatever, so that you can ensure that there's a cleaner coming in and that the property is cleaned and all the things, right? So we want to make sure that we have all of that in writing before we start hiring people. So some of the tasks that we want to delegate are the restocking of supplies. You don't want to have to come in as an Airbnb owner separately from that and then go ahead and restock your property. You want to make sure that if you have a cleaner that's coming on staff, while they're already there, they do the damage reports, they do the restocking of the toilet paper and the towels and the linens and all that stuff, as well as making sure that the cleaning is done. So it's kind of a 3-tiered opportunity, if you will. You're going to pay a little bit more for that. But if you get the right person at your property, you can rest assured that while you're off doing what you want to do, your property is going to be well prepared for your guests. So making sure that you have the right fit is key. And that comes down to knowing exactly what your property requires, putting it in writing. And then when you interview people, go through all of those so that the understanding is in place that these are the parameters of the job. Because it's kind of the Wild West out there when it comes to property management, because every property is a little bit different. And you don't want to get in a situation where you once had a property manager that did certain things, and then the new property manager that comes in says, oh, we don't do that. That's not part of what we do, right? So you want to make sure that you have a list and that even when a house cleaner comes in, that you go over your list with them. Now, I'm on the house cleaning end of things. And so there are a lot of house cleaners that are like, well, that's not how I do. Okay, then that's the wrong person for your Airbnb. So you want to make sure that the person that comes in is teachable and that they're willing to follow the rules that you have for your property, because your property might be different than another property that they clean. I know lots of house cleaners clean 30 and 40 properties. And in order to do that, every property has its own little unique quirks. You know, don't close the back door a certain way or don't leave the gate open or whatever, right? So there are certain parameters. You want to make sure that's all in writing. We have a couple people here. I want to say hi and welcome. Throw your questions in the comments. I want to make sure that I answer those while we're here today. Another question we had is, what key responsibilities do you delegate? Oh, that's the one that we just covered. Let me erase that so I don't keep repeating the same questions. The tasks that you delegate are going to be specific to your property. All right. So what are some examples of how a skilled manager has positively impacted your Airbnb business? All right. This is really, really interesting. And one of the things that we look for when we hire staff or property managers to run an Airbnb is we look for people who notice things that need to be done and do them without being asked. So that's one of the very first requirements that we look for. Because if they come in and let's say there's a cracked window, are they going to pick up the phone and give us a call and let us know so that we can get that fixed before the next guest comes? And then if they come in and let's say that there's trash that's overflowing and for some reason food has been left out and there are ants or other pests of some sort, we want to make sure that they pick up the phone and they're able to either call a pest control service or that they have some kind of a spray that they're going to use between now and the next guest, certainly that they'll contact the host. So there are certain things that you want them to be able to just do without saying, well, that's not my job, and then they ignore it, right? So one of the first things that we're looking for is this person a go-getter? Is this person someone that I can count on to cover my back if they see something that needs to be done while I'm not there? Also, if that property manager, if you have a property manager that's running the property, they might have to make last minute adjustments. For example, let's say that you have a guest that's supposed to check out on Thursday, and that guest decides to stay an extra day. Excuse me. Providing that you have openings, is it okay if that guest stays an extra day? That property manager will be able to take care of that for you without calling you and saying, hey, is it okay? And, whatever, getting you involved. And so is this a do-it-yourself kind of person that's able to take that initiative? So that's what we're looking for when we hire a property manager. When we're hiring a house cleaner, some of the things that we're looking for is how reliable are they? And you're not going to be able to learn that from just an interview because they'll say, oh, yes, I'm reliable. You're going to want to check ratings and reviews. And so this is a cleaning company that is established, that has ratings and reviews, or if it's somebody that you're willing to take a chance on, track those ratings and reviews. As you get this person up and running, give them, a couple of jobs and see how reliable they are and track that progress. So everybody that we hire, either for an Airbnb job or a regular cleaning job, we put them on a 90-day kind of a trial window, if you will. And that way we can take a look at their progress and say, yes, this person is somebody that I can send out to work alone, or this is a person that absolutely needs to be on a team. They're not so reliable and they're somewhat forgetful or whatever, right? You want to make sure you have people you can count on. And this is kind of a sidebar, but one of the things that we do in order to make sure the slot is filled for the cleaning is we want to make sure that you have a calendar of some sort that everyone has access to. And I know for our Airbnb properties, one of the things we do to staff properly is we use a Google Calendar. And the Google Calendar is available to everyone who has Google, and it's absolutely free. And you can create a schedule list of all of the Airbnb bookings that you have. And you can also assign your independent contractors or your cleaners to the bottom of that calendar. So everybody has access to that calendar. One of the things we found really productive for us, for Airbnbs, is to have that, and we use a lot of independent contractors because our regular cleaners have regular clients at regular scheduled times, where with an Airbnb, they only hire us when they have a booking, right? They don't hire us to come in and clean for no good reason if the property was cleaned 2 days ago or 3 days ago, right? They're not going to call you to come back and do it again and again if no one is there. So the turnover service is kind of sporadic in a lot of properties. Some of your big tourist areas, not so much, but in some outlying areas, that's the case. So we do have a lot of independent contractors that work those markets for cleaning. And one of the things that we do is we ask who's available. And so we will let those independent contractors book themselves on the Google Calendar. They all have admin opportunities where they can add stuff to the calendar. So they'll say, I'm available on Wednesday, I'm available on Thursday and Saturday. Then if you have like a last minute booking, the books, usually when the person checks in the day before that they're going to need a cleaning when they leave. So based on the day that they clean, you look at your Google Calendar and you say, hey, who's available for us to send out on this job? And so then you call the independent contractor that's there and say, hey, we have a job for Tuesday or Wednesday. And based on their availability, they might claim that. So we let the independent contractors book themselves on the calendar, and we let the independent contractors claim the job. And so if they are booked like, hey, I'm available, and they don't claim the job, they get nixed from the list, because we're not going to count on independent contractors that say I'm available and then don't take the jobs. Does that make sense? And we give two outs for an independent contractor. So in one calendar year, if they say, I'll take a job, and then for some reason they don't show up, or there's an emergency of some sort and they don't, no call, no show, once something bad could have happened. They could have been in a car accident, there could have been a tragedy, something. But twice in a calendar year, we don't work with them anymore because we need reliable people. All right, so that's just a tip there. All right, let's see another question that we have here. What qualities should someone look for when hiring a manager for their rental property? So that one is again the reliability and so people that we can count on that we know are going to follow through and do the job. Another thing that we're looking for is we're looking for thoroughness. Now, I say thoroughness because with a regular cleaning, although they're thorough, we have to be even more thorough on an Airbnb job. And I say that by you have to open every bedstand. You have to look underneath the beds and clean underneath the beds. You have to open up every cabinet. You have to open up every drawer or dresser, wardrobe, whatever's in there. You have to double check that nobody left any cell phone chargers, clothes, shoes, underwear, socks, trash, whatever, right? People put things in nooks and crannies and then stuff slips out of their bags or their luggage, and you have to be able to find that. So before every single job, we have to do a 360 of the entire property, outside and inside, and check for damages. And then we also want to make sure that it's a person that's going to be really, really thorough. And so again, this comes from ratings and reviews and training. And I say training because if you are a host and 5 stars is your goal, one of the things we want to make sure of is that you have a list and that is the list that you're working from. So even though I have a list that I use for regular house cleaning, the house cleaning is going to be slightly different if it's a B&B and we're not cleaning the whole property. We're just cleaning a bed and a small kitchenette. Or if we're cleaning a bed, a bathroom, and maybe a living area. And so the cleaning is going to be a little bit different for the Airbnb because some of the tasks will be rotated from a regular, I'm going to say biweekly clean. On a biweekly clean, yes, we're cleaning the bathrooms and the kitchen and the living room and all that stuff. But on an Airbnb clean, while it's more like a deep clean, it's only going to be a smaller part of the property. And unless it's the whole entire property and it's a vacation rental. And if that's the case, and you're cleaning it on a regular basis, it's still not going to be a deep cleaning every time. The main areas will be a deep cleaning every time. But if you have the property turns, let's say, every 4 days, you're not going to need to dust the ceiling fans every 4 days. You might need to dust them every 2 weeks or every month or even 2 months, depending on the area and the usage of the property, right? So there are certain things you don't have to do every single time. And if you check with a flashlight on all of your 360 walkarounds of the property, that will give you a really good feel for what needs to be clean at each individual clean. But you're going to want to make sure that with your Airbnb host or your Airbnb property manager and also your cleaner, that everyone is on the same page. You don't want the property manager to have certain expectations. Then they hire a cleaner and the cleaner has their own way of doing things and it doesn't match your standard of excellence. So we want to make sure of that. Okay, so challenges. What are some common challenges that hosts face when they manage their own properties without assistance? I love this question because for all of the entertaining that we've done over the years and all the Airbnb hosts that we've worked with, we get a lot of the same common concerns over and over and over again. And that is that the host cannot take vacation and they cannot go anywhere because they are managing the property in case there's a last minute booking, in case there's somebody that comes in case somebody's checking out early and they got to flip that property for the next sale. So they feel tethered to their property, number one. Number two, if you're cleaning your own property, there's a whole window of time that you can't do anything except get your property ready, which is one of the reasons we encourage Airbnb owners to outsource the cleaning and the managing of their property. You can do it if that's all you're doing and if you're doing that as a job. But if you try to do other things, like if you're a 24/7 caregiver of your parents, or if you have small children, life happens. And so you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you have guests that are like, hey, can I stay an extra day? And then suddenly you have other plans like a doctor's appointment or something that you've already made other plans. And now you're not going to be there for the cleaning. And then you have a new guest coming in tomorrow night, right? So you want to make as many accommodations as you can. But if you are the only person, you are bound by human limitations. And so if you have a family emergency, Or if you do go on vacation, you got to block everything out so that nobody checks in and nobody checks out while you're gone. And then forever, you're updating your own calendar like, hey, I'm booking out. I'm not going to be available, right? By having someone else that does that, or that tag teams with you, that eliminates a lot of those issues. So those are some of the concerns. Another one of the concerns is they are also responsible for all the admin work and all the bookings and making sure everything cleared the bank and all the bookkeeping and everything, contacting plumbers and pest control services, and replacing towels that have makeup on them, and either hiring out a linen service or doing the laundry themselves. So those are some of the limitations from the owners themselves. All right, another one. How do you handle the training and ongoing development of your house cleaning team? This is a tough one, and it's a tough one because many Airbnb owners will hire a cleaning service that already has an existing staff, and they have their own way of doing things. And so and I really request this, when you have an Airbnb or a vacation rental property, we want to make sure that the way that you do things is the way that the new person does things, and that they will train either the new person that they hire to tag team with them, or the property manager can train the next person. And so let's say, for example, that your trash only goes out on Tuesday. You want to make sure that the trash is out on the curb or outside or wherever it's picked up on Tuesday, regardless of who's cleaning the property that day. Those are little things like that that would be advantageous for them to know. For example, if your property is a no smoking property, if somebody does smoke, what is the cleaning parameter for that? Do you use ozone machines? Is there a particular spray that you use? Instead of stacking chemical on top of chemical, what is your process? Because everybody's going to be different. And even though there are really good cleaning companies out there, you deciding what works for your property has to be communicated to the property manager and the Airbnb cleaning company. So that's what we recommend there. Okay, so what strategies do you use to maintain high cleanliness and hygiene standards in your vacation rental properties? This is a great question, because since the pandemic, all of the cleaning changed a little bit. And one of the things that we noticed from regular cleaning companies that are just cleaning biweekly customers' homes, the high touch areas. But with the Airbnb industry, it kind of went up a level. And the reason is there are a lot of high touch areas that are inside homes that get more use with an Airbnb guest. So for example, in a bathroom, we might just go ahead and wipe everything down as we normally do. But in an Airbnb, everything that can be touched has got to be considered a high touch area. So it's not just the faucets, which are going to be high touch in a regular home, but it's the faucets, it's the knobs on the cupboards that are below the bathroom sink. All that stuff could be touched by different guests. And so if somebody's sick, we don't know if they're sick, we hope they're not, but going into flu season, those are some considerations. So every knob in the house, every drawer, every bedstand handle, those are not necessarily high touch areas in a home, because a customer's home, those are their germs. But where we have lots of people coming in, every back of the chair, like if somebody goes to pull out a chair, the back of that chair has to be wiped down. That is a high touch area. The handle on the microwave I did like this. This is a stove or an oven. The handle on the oven, the handles on the microwave, the doors on the fridge, all of those handles, doors on the dishwasher, if you have a dishwasher in your Airbnb, those all have to be considered high touch areas. While they've been cleaned before, since the pandemic, everything has got to be sanitized. All of the light switches in the house, every doorknob, both the front and the back of the door. We don't know how the people are using the doors, whether they're closing the bedroom door in your B&B at night, or whether if they've got like the whole house area, if they're leaving those doors open, we don't know. And so from guest to guest to guest, we want to make sure both sides of the doorknobs are wiped down. Also, there's about 1.5 feet that goes above each door knob and about 1.5 feet below, where people will just kind of push the door with their hands as they're walking through the door, like, hey, I'm closing the door now. As they're closing the door, their fingers get on those panels, and they're 6-panel doors, interior doors, but those are also high touch areas. So we want to get above and below each of the doorknobs, front And on the inside of the front door, if there's a garage door or if there's a back door, same rule applies. Of course, every chair, and then underneath the tables, like if people pull themselves up to a table, they'll be grabbing the table from the top and underneath the table. So all of the table tops where people sit, and then underneath the tables, which is an often overlooked area, those are all high touch areas. So there are a couple weird little nuances, but ever since the pandemic and the world has become so incredibly aware of germs, those are some high touch areas. So we want to pay attention to those. And if you'll make a list, like a checklist, you won't forget it and your house cleaners won't forget it. But it's easy to know the high touch areas, but not articulate them. And then somebody that comes in, let's say a cleaning service that comes in, and they're used to cleaning inside people's homes, they may not clean like underneath the table because it's just the family. Their germs are their germs, right? Their high touch areas are going to be the light switches and the doorknobs, for example. And so in an Airbnb, there are a little bit different areas that we have to look out for. All right. Are there any particular tools or software that you recommend for hosts to streamline the management of the rental properties? This is a really great question because there's so many tools that are out there now. There are so many different softwares that are available now. And there are a couple that we use in the cleaning business that I highly recommend in addition to the property software that you use for booking. And these are things like House Call Pro, Brilliant. There's one called Market. There's another one called Jobber. These are all cleaning, I want to say apps, but it's really software. And it will literally track the cleaner. And so it tracks the job, and it will also track when they arrive. A lot of the programs have GPS, and the GPS will show you when they arrived and when they left. There are different booking softwares, and I will leave links to them in the notes below because I don't have a list of those with me. But what's interesting about those is it will allow for before and after pictures. And this is really important because if you show up to a property as a cleaner and the property's been trashed, and this has happened on so many occasions, the property has been trashed, you got to take pictures of that and you have to document that because either the host or the property manager is going to have to make a call on whether or not the B&B guest is going to get charged for that. And I know that there are a lot of upfront security deposits for some guests, especially some that have particular ratings and reviews, like they've trashed places in the past. And as a B&B owner, you might decide not to rent to those people at all, or you might take a security deposit from them. But the pictures then is the proof in the pudding. And so you'll have to decide who does that. Is that going to be the property manager? Is that going to be your cleaning team? I recommend it's your cleaning team because if it's a fast turn, they're going to be the first people on the ground. They're going to be the eyes on the ground. They'll do your damage report. They will do your restocking and then also your cleaning. And along with that, we have to decide upfront who's going to do the linen service. Do you outsource that, or is that something that you want them to do on site? There are more and more companies that are outsourcing their linen services now for this reason. The cleaning teams have to stay on site until the laundry's done if you don't have multiple sets. And with the cleaning teams taking the laundry off site, that's not always the best situation because, again, once they leave, they're done with the job. And then they go home and then they still have to do what? Laundry again. And so for many of them, it's not convenient. And because it's not convenient, sometimes it doesn't get done. I hate to say that, but sometimes the linens don't get washed. They bring the linens back. It's a bad situation. And I know that would never happen to you guys. I'm sure you're not the cleaning company that would ever do that, but I get to deal with stories like this all day, every day. Not cool. So more and more companies are moving to linen services. And the linen services, I think, are about $1 to $1.15 a pound in the US. And so that's kind of a going rate where you're going to get them to wash your linens and your towels and things like that, and just have fresh deliveries for you on a regular ongoing basis. That way it removes that from the house cleaning responsibilities. As far as purchasing the restocking and supplies, That can be the house cleaner, but that's more likely going to fall under the jurisdiction of the property manager. And if you're the owner, that's probably going to be your job. And so it's not impossible, but the reality is we want to, again, be clear about who is buying what, who's buying the little shampoos, are you using big shampoos, who's restocking those, who's refilling those, is there coffee that's provided, are there, I don't know, little bags of microwave popcorn, is there trail mix, like what does your Airbnb do that's special from the next Airbnb, right? Lots of people have little, I don't know, little snacks and things like that. So who's buying those? And then is that person a member of Costco, for example? And if they are, who pays for the membership? So you want to clarify all of the little things. So is that you as the Airbnb owner? Is that the property manager, or is that the house cleaner? I don't know. It's up for grabs, but you have to clarify it and then be specific. And as far as the apps go, make sure that all of that stuff is documented in the apps. One of the apps that we use, and we have all of our cleaners on this, is Keeper Security. And Keeper Security is not an app, so to say. It's more a password vault that allows access. And so, for example, if you are a house cleaning company and you're sending out a variety of different house cleaners or independent contractors that are going to homes, that password vault is going to have all of the alarm codes for the house. If there are key codes like the lockbox that you have for a realtor that they put on the doors of Airbnbs, you would have all of those passcodes. You're going to have the addresses, you're going to have the owner's names, you're going to have all that information that's proprietary information to that particular job. I like Keeper Security because it has a whole list of different types of information you can store. One of the things that I really like to store in there are all of the cleaning supplies that we use and the vendor that we purchase them from. So if you are the house cleaner and you are buying the supplies, with one click, you have login to that access to that purchase information. You can log in and just reorder. We need 2 gallons of this for this property. And most of the properties, the cleaning supplies are purchased individually by property, so that we're not, if you have a cleaning company that's coming, they'll bring all their own cleaning supplies. But if it's just your Airbnb and you are the Airbnb owner, you want to make sure your cleaning supplies are on stock at all times, so that a cleaner doesn't get there and say, oh, I ran out, right? And so if that's the case and you're just hiring individuals yourself and you're not hiring a regular cleaning company that's coming in, you'll be supplying all those supplies. And that includes all the paper goods, which are toilet paper, paper towels, like I said, the coffee, if you have coffee or trail mix or whatever it is that you offer. So you want to make sure, and if you have a mini bar, you'll be restocking the mini bar as well. So you want to make sure that you have a way to track all of that. And our Keeper Security Vault has all of that. At every house, here's what happens. You track it all, and then they can check it off when they're done. And what's cool about that is if you share the record, which you can share the record between you and the house cleaner or you and the property manager, anytime you make a change, it makes it on their end as well. And so that way it's a two-way system where they can make a change, you can make a change, but everything is right in one spot. And then if you have to let that person go, you just disconnect their service, change the password, hire somebody new, and add them to the Keeper Security. So I love it for that reason. All right, the next one. How do you balance cost effectiveness with maintaining the quality of service provided by your manager and housekeeper? Now, this is an interesting question because the consideration of cost effectiveness comes up all the time. The Airbnb owner and property manager are trying to save as much money as possible because the more profit they keep, the more money they make, right? And then for the house cleaning company, they're in business to stay in business as well. And so they have to be paid a living wage. Otherwise, they can't afford to keep coming and cleaning your property. And you don't want to chintz on the house cleaning service or the property management service, because that's the person that's going to ensure that more guests keep coming. If you get bad ratings and reviews, people are going to stop coming, right? So there's only a select amount of people that will come to a property just because it's the cheapest. So you want to make sure you have the best ratings and reviews as well. And so the secret to making sure that you have a cost-effective program is that you are charging enough money for the property that you have, or you're charging a cleaning fee. And that cleaning fee oftentimes is a pass-through fee that is charged right up front from the rental. and then passes on to the house cleaner that comes. And you got to make sure that you charge enough for the cleaning fee that you can afford to have them come and keep them on staff. And I will share this sadness with you because since the pandemic, there has been a global hiring, I don't want to say a freeze, but a global hiring labor shortage. It's just labor is really tight across the board. I was in London last week, and everywhere they're hiring. And here in the US, everywhere they're hiring. They're hiring ads in every window. People are hiring. It's short on labor. So to find a good cleaning company, you're going to have to pay. I know that all of the cleaning labor costs have gone up across the board since the pandemic, as well as insurance, fuel, cleaning supplies, cleaning equipment. Everything has gone up since the pandemic. So expect to pay about 30% more today than you did 3 years ago for the same service. It's kind of the way it is. All right, next one. Have you ever faced challenging situations with guests, and how did your manager and housekeeper resolve them? Yes. So guests are all different. There's many different types of guests as there are Airbnb owners and hosts. And it's weird, but not everybody connects. And so what is a perfect customer to one host is going to be someone else's nightmare, that exact same person, just because personalities are different. And so when you go into the Airbnb business, it's nice to say, oh, I only deal with nice people. But the reality is, as a house cleaner, we also have customers that some we get along with well and some we don't. And so one of the things that we have to consider as we are hiring a manager or a house cleaning company as a host is that you don't have to particularly like them. You have to like their work. You have to respect them. You don't have to particularly like them. Now, as a house cleaner, we don't have to particularly like the hosts that we work for either, but we have to respect them and we have to treat their property with respect. And so not liking them doesn't mean we're mean to them. It just means that this is just a job. It's not personal. It's just a job. Our energy is off kilter a little bit. We're not the best fit, but they're providing me a job and I'm providing them a service. And if you keep it a transactional business relationship, everybody can get along. So over the course of being a cleaner, I've been a professional house cleaner for 25 years out in the field. And then I've been training house cleaners for the last 32 years. And so one of the things that I've run into a lot, I've worked with a lot of people I didn't particularly care for. And I've had employees that I didn't particularly care for. I respected them and they did good work and they got paid and I treated them like everyone else, but we don't have to like each other. So right from the very beginning, if you are willing to be open-minded about the types of people that you hire, you can get some really, really good people on your team. And just because your energy might not connect with them, doesn't mean they're bad people. The telltale signs and the things that you should look for are things that are off kilter, like they talk smack about you behind your back, or there are issues like stuff's gone missing and we kind of think it's them, but we're not sure. Or there are some inconsistencies, like they're supposed to be at a job cleaning and they disappeared for 2 hours of the time and then they clocked back in. Those are like weird things. Okay. So if you have weird things, that requires some extra attention. But just as far as picking people, it's going to come down to, is the person qualified? Can they do the job? Do they do it continuously? Are they reliable? Okay. You know what I mean? So that's an opportunity there. Can you share some tips for hosts on how to establish fair compensation structures for their team? Yes. One of the things that is kind of a profound across the board is, how is your team set up? And if you're an Airbnb host, we talked about not being the only person that does the cleaning, that does the hosting, that lets people in, all those things. So if you have a co-host, that's a really great way to set up your business. This comes in the form of a property manager or also advancing your cleaning company to be the co-host. When you advance your cleaning company to a co-host, what you're doing is this. Excuse me. Instead of you, the Airbnb host, hiring out the cleaner and then training them and giving them your worksheet and making sure that they're on time and setting up the list of these are all my bookings and having people take the bookings and then, oh no, someone didn't show up and all those things. If you hire a cleaning company, what you're doing is you're outsourcing all of that part of the job to them. And so they are in essence finding the cleaner for every job. They're making sure that slot is staffed. They're making sure if something malfunctions, if there's any breakages, if there's any damage, if they have to replace something, all the restocking stuff, instead of you following up with all of those details with that one person, the cleaning company is managing that with the team that they've either outsourced it to or the people that are in their employ. So they're managing a lot of those issues. And so that's a really great opportunity when you're looking for a partner. Is this like a property manager that can come on board? And instead of just paying them a flat hourly fee or a flat job fee, what we like to do is we like to take about 25% of the home stay. So if somebody's staying there for 3 days, you would split the cost of the stay. 25% of that goes to that management company or the cleaning company. That way they have an investment in making sure that the customer everything is well prepared, that the guests feel welcome, that everything looks shiny and sparkly, that the ambiance is set right, that the lights are a certain way, that there's music, that maybe they light a couple of electronic candles or whatever it is that you do to make your home a really happy, welcoming place. They'll do all those little tiny fine touches that when your guest walks in, they have that, oh, wow experience, right? You want to make sure that your guests are feeling welcome by you choosing the right business partner. And the business partnership comes down to this, and this is a really key element to know. If you have a business partner that is co-hosting with you, they need to have, it's either a 49 or a 51% decision process. It's never 50-50. 50-50 creates a deadlock. And so at 49-51, somebody has the overriding decision in the event that you both are at a standstill on what to do next. And so if, for example, something has to be done, and I don't know what the decisions are for your business, but they come up every day and you're like, we didn't see that coming. Are you going to make the decision or is your co-host? And so instead of leaving it to chance, or instead of you both coming to a different agreement, one of you has to have the overruling decision. And so there might be different areas in which you swap off. So for example, someone might say on the landscaping, this particular person in our employ has the 51% overrule. On the linen service, this person has the 51%, because everybody's going to have to make decisions all of the time about your business. And so letting go of 50% or all of the control is one of the key challenges to an Airbnb host. But as soon as you'll get out of your own way and you'll trust the company that you hired, whether it's the cleaner or the management company, what happens is you start to empower them to do what's right for the company. And if they have an invested interest in that, they're always going to go for what's going to get you the 5-star ratings and reviews. So you have to trust the team that you partner with. Is that worth 25% of your night stay? In most cases, yes, it's very well worth it. So that's just something to think about. All right, next question. Have you ever faced challenging situations with guests, and how did your manager and housekeeper help resolve them? So there are a lot of common issues that need to be dealt with on a regular basis. And that is things like open foodstuffs, where guests, will carry food throughout the whole entire property, and sometimes they spill it, and there will be like little dribbles of coffee all throughout the house and on the carpets and whatever. And you have to know the person that's coming in has got your back. And so as a house cleaning company, and this is weird, but as a cleaning company that does a biweekly service on a regular customer's home, we don't clean carpets. That's not what we do. So if there are spots in the carpet, we're going to vacuum the carpet because that's what we do, but we're not going to remove spots from the carpet. But if you have an Airbnb, that cleaner is going to come in and go, oh my goodness, there's coffee on this white rug. And I got to get the coffee out of the white rug before the next guest comes, because then I'm not going to get great ratings and reviews. And so in the past, one of the things that has really risen to the occasion is cleaners that will go the extra mile, and they'll bring in something like we use Blue Magic, and I will leave links in the show notes to this because I didn't leave links today. But Blue Magic is a stain remover, and it comes in an aerosol can, and I'll tell you where to buy it because it's hard to find, but it's available at all the auto zones and I forget what the auto places are, but it's at most of the auto places. It's also in the auto department at Walmart. And so it comes in a can and it's blue and it's called Blue Magic. It's a stain remover, and I've never had anything it didn't remove. It's great for furniture. It's great for carpets. It's great for different kinds of fabrics, for drapes. It's great for everything from coffee to wine spills, protein stains, blood, dog and cat pee. Hopefully that there are no animals at the Airbnbs, but if there are and you're a pet friendly Airbnb, then you're going to want to have something like this in your back pocket. But there are house cleaners that will show up and they see stuff. This goes back to hiring the person that sees stuff that needs to be done, and they do it without being asked. And I like the cleaning company that's like, I'm going to take responsibility of this. And they don't just charge you like, I had to remove some stains, so I'm charging you $5 extra per stain or whatever, because that just gets annoying. It's annoying to the cleaning company that has to send a separate invoice, and it's annoying to the host that receives it, right? So you want to find somebody that's like, oh, look, there's a stain. I know what to do. And then they do it, right? So it's little things like stains. It's little things like making sure if something has been moved. I know that, and I'm the worst. Forgive me for admitting this, but I use a lot of computers when I travel. I usually travel with 2 or 3 computers. The desk that I'm sitting at right now has 5 computers at it. So when I go to an Airbnb, I take a couple computers with me, and not every Airbnb is set up for the 5 computers or 3 computers or whatever it is I've got. And so I end up kind of cobbling together different pieces of furniture so that I can have my setup if I have to work while I'm on my holiday. And so there are weird situations like this where a cleaning company will come in and they're like, oh, wow, the garbage can is upside down and there's a telephone on the garbage can, right? You know what to do. They used it as a telephone stand so they could clear off that desktop so they could use that desktop for their computers or their games or whatever it was. They took the phone and they put it upside down on a garbage can there as a little stand because the telephone is hooked into the wall and there's nowhere to move it, right? But they'll see something like that and they go, oh, I know exactly what to do. And then they put everything back. I've used bed stands as part of my little computer setup, but I always put them back. Some guests don't. So if they walk in and they see the bed stand in a weird place in the room, they're not like, oh, that's not my job. I don't move stuff. They're going to say, oh, I know exactly what to do. I know where that goes. And they have a before picture of what it's supposed to look like before the guest arrives, and they can reset the room to that look. And so again, when a guest leaves, there needs to be a walkthrough of the whole property. So I love it. I love it when either a property manager or a house cleaning company comes in and they do a 360 of the property and they just double check to make sure nothing was left behind. And then everything is reset. And you can reset a room before you clean it. So if you have to move the garbage can back to where it was, move the phone back on the desk, move the coffee tray that they don't drink coffee, so they moved it somewhere else in the room, bring it back and put it where it's supposed to go. If there are any tent cards that got moved, they can put all the tent cards back. They can reset the room and then clean it and then reset it for the next guest. So that's something that I recommend. Got a couple comments that are here. Hi, Kimberly. She says, I don't have luck with Blue Magic. Maybe I used it wrong. Maybe. I've never, ever had a problem with it. I've been using it for, I have no idea how many years, 20 years, maybe. I have no idea how old it is, but I've been using it since I very first found out about it. So how you use it is you spray it. It comes out kind of like a foam and you leave it in the carpet. If that's what it is, leave it for a couple minutes. You want to make sure that it has dwell time. If there's no dwell time, it's going to be hard to get out. You want a clear, and I say clear, meaning no dyes on the fabric. So like if it's a paper towel, no dyes on the paper towel, because you don't want the dyes getting wet and bleeding back into the carpet, but you just do the dab method. And so spray it on there. You can agitate it a little bit, but don't like scrub it because you don't want to ruin the fibers of either the carpet or the upholstery or whatever. But it works amazing. We've used it on sofas, like suede sofas and stuff that you're like, That'll never work. It did. So it's really, it's one of my favorite go-to products of all time. And it's not sponsored. It's just one of my favorite go-to products. So let me know if you try it again and if it works for you or it doesn't work. So, all right. And Kimberly also says the best instant carpet remover, by the way, is Folex. I don't know Folex. And that is something I will have to check out because now you have me curious as to Folex. So I love that. But I also love having a couple of things like that that are available at the Airbnb, because I guarantee when I travel that I have my Blue Magic with me, but I can't guarantee that another cleaning company or an independent contractor will have that. And if you are the cleaning company and you hire independent contractors, you can't tell them what kind of cleaning solutions or supplies to use. And so if the Airbnb has that on staff, awesome. And also if you leave cleaning supplies for guests, there are a lot of people that are like, I'm on vacation and I don't want to clean. But here's the thing. I'm a guest of Airbnbs. I stay at probably 6 or 7 Airbnbs per year on average. And when I'm there, if I make a mess, I want to clean up after myself. I want to. One of the first things I do is I look under the kitchen sink like, hey, what did you leave me? Right? So I want to make sure that I can clean up after myself. I go looking for a vacuum. I don't know why, but I'm like everyone else. If I eat things like chips or cookies, there will be crumbs. There will always be crumbs. That's what happens. They just appear out of nowhere. I want to clean up after myself. I don't want to leave the world dirtier than I found it. I want to leave it cleaner. So where's your stuff? And I mean, literally, my husband said when we're at Airbnbs, will you stop cleaning? This is not your house. I'm like, I know. I don't want to leave it messy. I don't want to go to bed tonight in a messy house. I want to wash my own dishes. And so literally, I will pull out the drainer from the dishwasher if there's no drainer, and I'll put it up on the counter, with a towel underneath it. I'll wash all my own dishes as I go to make sure that they're clean and tidy. Now, the cleaning company that's coming in doesn't know if I cleaned them or not. So they're going to rewash those dishes. But if I'm staying somewhere for a week, I want to wash my own dishes. I want to clean up after myself after every meal. I do not want to be the guest that leaves and then has, ants or roaches or whatever come find food that I left and I could have cleaned it up if cleaning supplies would have been left, right? Kimberly says, I think being an independent cleaner myself, I have more invested than someone cleaning for a company. If my host is not getting 5 stars, I'm not making money because there are no bookings. That's a great way to look at it. And that's true. That's absolutely true. Because if everyone took the initiative to say, hey, this is my property and I'm responsible for this and I'm responsible for the turnover of this, the 5 stars are a direct reflection on you. So Kimberly, I have something to throw at you. There are a lot of softwares on the market that are independent of the company. So for example, let's say there's a website that's set up for that Airbnb and they use a piece of software like reviews, for example. The reviews belong to you as the independent cleaner, but they are displayed on the company website. What that means is you, Kimberly, get to use those same ratings and reviews on your website. Those website reviews get to go to the Airbnb saying, oh, we love this Airbnb. It was really great. It was so clean, all the things. But what happens is you both get to use those ratings and reviews and they actually belong to you. So if then you go to another property, you have leveraged all those ratings and reviews for your own personal website. So that's important to ask them is how are your ratings and reviews set up on your website? Do you use a program that allows me to use the ones that were brought in from the cleans that I did? So ask specifically that question, because it's really heartbreaking when you've worked for an Airbnb for 4 or 5 years and they keep all the ratings and reviews and none of them are usable for you. Also ask for the Airbnb permission to use the before and after pictures, because you can also use those for your cleaning company. And if you don't have any identifying information, which usually there's not in an Airbnb, it's pretty generic, but it's great publicity for the Airbnb. And so ask the Airbnb that you're working with, can I have permission? Get a signed release from, it's a media release, a signed media release from the Airbnb host that says, yes, it's okay if you use the pictures and can post them on social media. And then ask them, what are their hashtags? because if their property is like the little Vance house, might be the name of their property. You want to do hashtag the little Vance house, right? You want to make sure that you're tagging their property in it so that people go, oh, that's a lovely place to stay. I think I'll take my next vacation there, right? And then ask them, and this is cool. It can be in addition to what you do as a cleaner, but ask them if they have an affiliate program. I know that a lot of house cleaners have affiliate programs where if somebody gives them a recommendation or a referral, they give them some kind of a bird dog fee, a gift or a discount on cleaning or something like that. Ask the Airbnb if they also have a referral program. And the reason I say that is because along with the ratings and reviews that they can set up with that link on the website, if you are an affiliate of theirs, anytime you send somebody to the property to stay, whether it's a recommendation or if you're sharing it on social media and somebody signs in using your particular hashtag, then you make a percentage or a commission off of that in addition to your regular cleaning fee. So ask them for that as well. There are a lot of different ways to spin the collaboration between a cleaning company and their host. If you are the host, though, the key is to find your help as quickly as possible. And I say your help all across the board. That's going to be a series of window cleaners and carpet cleaners and house cleaners and property managers and plumbers and HVAC cleaners and HVAC systems, people that make sure the heating and the air conditioning is on. If you maintain the lawns or the yards, that you have a landscaping company and that you have an irrigation company that's going to come out and turn the water off at the end of the year and turn it back on in the spring. Little things like that have to be done at every single property. And so the sooner you get all of your people in place, the easier it's going to be to have everything running smoothly instead of reinventing the wheel at every single step, because that's what's exhausting for a lot of Airbnb owners is the reinvention of the process. And so you don't want to reinvent anything. You want to put all of your systems in place and we're done. Then you can hire either a property manager or a cleaning person as your co-host and let them run the system that you've set up. But if you've set it up first and it's duplicable, and I say duplicable meaning it's easy to replicate, then you can train somebody, they can train somebody, they can train somebody. And my suggestion would be, because we live in the era of video, that you video your training. And I know it's easy to bring somebody on and say, hey, look, here's my checklist, come through the house and I'll show you everything. Videotape that process. If you're going to do that, get somebody else there and literally walk around with a handheld gimbal. The little handheld gimbals are $100. Smartphone, just walk around and capture you on tape. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be edited, any of those things. But have someone tape you training someone else. So that if that person, for whatever reason, falls out, family emergency, they quit, they cancel something, and you have to bring somebody new in 2 or 3 weeks later, that you don't have to spend all of your time and energy training someone again, right? So what you want to do is just go, here's the video. And then they can go, oh, look, you're walking through the house and you said this was important. Oh, okay, I get the message now, right? They can watch the video over and over and over if they have to. But if you have to outsource that video over and over and over again, you've already done the work once. You're not reinventing that at every single time. And if you have to make adjustments, it's easy on a videotape to say, at 13 minutes and 12 seconds, we made one slight change. Here's the slight change. And make an amended video that's a minute long, right? They can watch this one and then go, oh, this was changed. Great. It's easy to do. But because it's not a huge training, this is not something you're going to be reselling, and it's not going to, you're not going to be watching it thousands of times or anything. It does not have to be fancy. Your lighting has to be good enough that someone can see what you're talking about. But if you have ums and ahs and stuff like that, who cares, right? The object is that you get the message across. All right. Kimberly says, thanks, Kimberly, for the comments. This is awesome. I never thought about that. Thanks for the info. My host always shares the posts she gets about how clean it is. It boosts my self-esteem. I have awesome hosts. I love that. I love that. I love that she shares it with you, number one. And I love the fact that she shares it on social media. And so one of the things that I would suggest, and this is from every Airbnb host, when I post a picture, I'm going to tag you. When you post a picture, will you tag me? And so if the two of you agree to tag the other person, what happens is this, and it's good for both of you. Here's what happens. Let's say that I, Angela, go to clean Kimberly's Airbnb. Kimberly, I'm just going to use you because you're here. I go to clean your Airbnb and I say, okay, Kimberly, I'm going to tag you when I show a before and after picture, hashtag Kimberly's awesome Airbnb. That's going to be the name of your Airbnb. Okay, so what happens is I tag you. And so my post gets tagged to Kimberly's social media because I tagged her in it. And so Kimberly can jump in as the host and she can say, oh, thank you so much for doing the cleaning. We love you cleaning our place. You always do such a thorough job. So she pays back the compliment. But what happens is because it's my post, now the host is giving me kudos that's now on my social media. Then I jump in on Kimberly's social media because I tagged her. She left a comment. I'm leaving a comment back. I'm going to say, oh, thank you so much for the work. I really appreciate you hiring us. You've provided for me and my family, and it's been an awesome ride. Okay. I'm going to say something back in kind. Now, what this does is this. If I'm posting on my social media and I tag her and she comments back on my post, by me posting, I tripped the algorithm once. By her posting back, that tripped the algorithm twice. When I made a comment, I tripped the algorithm back to her. So now my little post that I was just posting that has no, it's like crickets. Nobody said anything. Suddenly there are three trips to the algorithm on that one post. What happens is whatever platform you're on, Facebook or whatever, it perks up and it's like, whoa, there's activity here. Let me show this to more people. So it shows it to more people. So every time you trip the algorithm for either person, what happens is then that post gets shared to more people. So if you are the house cleaner, you want it to be shared to more people. If they're the host, they want it to be shared to more people because that means more people will see, maybe more people will stay, right? So you want to make sure that there's a collaboration there. And if I tag you, make sure you comment back right away, and then I'll comment back in kind. And so it's really awesome because it's the art of reciprocity. We like giving to people who gave to us. So if you make a compliment to someone, it's often they will compliment you back. So here's the way to do this as the house cleaner for an Airbnb. If they didn't say anything nice about you, you can say something nice about them. So you can post something and say, oh, guess what? Today I get to clean the Kimberly's awesome Airbnb. And I'm so excited. I love her house. She's got the coolest kitchen that you'll ever believe. And then post a picture of the kitchen, right? And then Kimberly jumps in and says, oh, Angela, we just love it when you come and clean. Then I post something back, right? So you can trip that as the house cleaner, or they can trip it as the Airbnb owner. It goes both ways. All right. And Kimberly says, now that I have you all to myself, do you have a program that can teach the business part of starting a business? How to start, where to start, how to get cleaners? Yes, I do. If you go over to savvycleaner.com, we have a whole bunch of training. And the training is how to start a cleaning business. And it also has different certification programs about chemical safety and personal protective equipment and eco-cleaning supplies and how to clean and sanitize your equipment between and after every job so that you're not taking a vacuum that you used in one Airbnb, ran it all over those people's carpets, take it to another Airbnb and run it all over their carpets without sanitizing that first. We don't want to spread germs if we can help it at all. And we talk about cross-contamination and all the things. And so, yeah, I would recommend that you check that out if you haven't already. But one of the things that I like about it best is because of the certifications, it gives you instant credibility. So if Airbnb companies are looking for cleaners, apples to apples, all things being equal, are they going to go with a company that they've never heard of, that has no ratings and reviews, that's just a cheap price? Are they going to go with somebody that they know is not going to be experimenting on their solid surface floors and their solid surface countertops and their fabrics and all those things, right? They're going to go, oh, this is a trained professional. And also being a trained professional, they know that you're licensed and you're insured and all the things. So you want to make sure that you have the credentials to do the job. And the reason being is if you can advertise that on your website, you're going to get a lot of business. And then that gives you the opportunity to spin out and then hire other independent contractors to come work for you. And I love the Airbnb business as a fill-in, because with independent contractors, we can run a lot of extra business with moms, and I say moms or dads that have kids in school during the day. And so they're going to be at home anyway. They might as well pick up a couple of extra jobs per week. So maybe they don't want a full-time job. Maybe they can't work 9 to 5, but they could work 11 to 3, which is that sweet spot where people are checking out and new people are checking in. And so if they know in advance, like, oh, hey, I have 2 or 3 jobs this week, they will show up every week for 2 or 3 jobs. They don't want a full-time job. They don't even want a part-time job, but that still gives them the mornings and the evenings after that sweet window where they can schedule doctor's appointments or soccer games or whatever. So you'll find a lot of parents that just want a little bit of extra income that are willing to work Airbnb jobs for you. So, all right, our time is up for today. I'm really sad that the guest that I promised you was unable to show up for today, but I'm really excited that you guys did show up, and I'm excited for those of you watching the replay. And Kimberly, I'm so glad you showed up. I just had a blast with you. And that is your question. Yes. Okay. So I did answer that. If you guys have any other questions that come up, if you're watching the replay, leave them in the links below and I will respond to them just as soon as I possibly can, because I want to make sure you guys do get your questions answered. So again, we will be here same time, same place next week. And next week, we've got a really awesome janitorial company that does a whole lot of housekeeping on a huge scale. So we're going to learn about the turnover cleaning tips from a janitorial type company that is much larger than just independent cleaners like many of us are. And they're going to give us some tips and tricks how they do this at scale. So that's going to be a fun one. All right. Until then, have a great week and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.